And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
Whatever happened to Democrats like that? You know, it was well past midnight in Chicago, early Tuesday morning. Straining to smile, President Joe Biden was haltingly led by the hand into the darkness of the backstage after a speech that was delayed, angry, and bitter. A reflection of a man who failed to lead and who had been politically marginalized since day one of his own administration. With his exit, something profound has happened in our nation's politics. The final death knell for traditional liberals in the Democratic Party. Over the last 15 years, we have watched the Democratic Party go from Frank Capra to Franz Kafka, morphing from the amiable liberal establishment of John F. Kennedy and Tip O'Neill and Bill Clinton even, to a juggernaut for American-style socialism. True, Marxism and its influence has been marching through our institutions for decades, unchecked by conservatives who lack the stomach for the real fight. This transformation, however, is more than simply the installation of a new set of big government types who think the New Deal and the Great Society were well-intentioned but just poorly implemented. The end of Mr. Biden is an unmitigated victory for the far left, which is now completely in control of the Democrat establishment. It's a victory for people who have an entirely different worldview than the vast majority of Americans. You see, Joe Biden was never part of the leftist club. He was a vestige of a time now long past before Barack Obama's silver-tongued, almost conservative-sounding rhetoric masked the beginnings of a revolution within the party, driving it towards central planning and weaponization of the executive branch, political violence, radical social policy, degrading of the legal framework of the nation, secularism, and censorship. Don't get me wrong. Joe Biden is not a sympathetic figure. He is morally reprehensible and he is corrupt. But he was also never one of the extremists. Before being snared by the Obama movement, he was a traditional liberal. He could vote with Republicans. He could be friends with Republicans. He could talk with them. And he could work toward reasonable compromise on the issues of the day. That meant the new left never trusted him. Mr. Obama never trusted Mr. Biden to execute the remaking of America that he and Senator Sanders and Senator Warren, along with others within the new party elite, envisioned. Mr. Biden was handed an agenda for his own administration written by socialist Bernie Sanders as a condition of his nomination in 2020. Then he made a deal to put a black woman on the ticket at the behest of Jim Clyburn and others on the far left, and he chose the one senator with a more extreme voting record than even socialist Mr. Sanders to fill that post. That's Kamala Harris. You know, the 1968 Democrat Party platform encouraged people to move from welfare to work. The words racism and reproductive rights and abortion and regulation don't even appear in the platform. By 2020, the party platform mentions abortion 5 times, refers to reproductive rights or services 15 additional times, systemic racism 5 times, racism 13 times, references to federal programs 80 times, transgender rights 15 times. Today, Michelle Obama talks about people who, quote, take more than they need. Well, who decides what that is? Today, Kamala Harris is proposing free money for new homes from the government, free college from the government, and Washington wiping out medical bills. The party supports government-sponsored abortions at home and abroad, even government-sponsored gender transition surgeries for children. Today's Democrats embrace government censorship and speech codes as they seek to be the absolute arbiter of truth. They actively interfere with both religion and the scientific method. They back programs that make it easier for non-citizens to vote in our elections. They equate sexualizing children with freedom. Tampons in the boys' room, boys stripping down in the girls' locker rooms, they're all in. Meantime, Bill Clinton's positions on border security and immigration would have him blasted as a racist on CNN today.
Not only in the states most heavily affected, but in every place in this country are rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country. That's why our administration has moved aggressively to secure our borders more by hiring a record number of new border guards, by deporting twice as many criminal aliens as ever before.
Recently, Robert F. Kennedy blasted the party of his father and uncle, saying, quote, the RFK-JFK Dems were allies of Main Street, cops, firefighters, and working people. Vice President Harris's is the party of big tech, big pharma, and Wall Street. Vice President Harris's is the party of lawfare, disenfranchisement, and the coronation of its candidates by corporate donors and party elites. He repeated that yesterday.
I left that party in October because it had departed so dramatically from the core values that I grew up with. It had become the party of war, censorship, corruption, big pharma, big tech, big ag, and big money. When it abandoned democracy by canceling the primary to conceal the cognitive decline of the sitting president.
Folks, this isn't progressivism. It is the slow progression of change that former Democrat Ronald Reagan warned us about in the 1960s and 70s, where he said that liberalism would be the vehicle for fascism and socialism. Well, the metamorphosis is complete now. Democrats went from the flag-waving Mr. Smith's gone to Washington to the wealthy elites who are triggered by that flag, wanting true central planning, dominion, and control over every aspect of our lives. Mr. Biden's presidency may have been a failure on many levels, but as those who have more in common with true socialists ascend to the top of the Democratic Party, many Democrats and traditional liberals might actually come to miss him.